Hey guys, Melissa Dunn here with the Melissadunn Realty team, and I'm joined again by Brandon Hearn in the next video of our lender series. And today we're going to talk about kind of the behind the scenes of the loan process. You've already gotten under contract, you've already gone through your inspection and your option period. And so this is kind of what happens between the end of your option period and your close date, some of that kind of unsexy behind the scenes underwriting and processing business. So Brandon, thank you for joining us again today and giving us your knowledge. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So do you want me to talk about the process in general?
Well, so tell me about what happens after the appraisal. So what are kind of the steps after the appraisal? Where are we at?
Okay. So you've made it through the option period. You're buying the house. The appraisal's been ordered. From the moment the appraisal gets back, the appraisal gets taken and uploaded into a national database, a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, a loan database, right? They gather all that data. Your file then at that point as well goes into underwriting. So the underwriter is the part of the process that what the underwriter does is they look at the work that we've done already, right? We've taken your application, we've built a loan, we have all your documents, your tax returns, your bank statements. The underwriter is looking at all those things and the appraisal, looking at all of it together and double checking to make sure you meet all the guidelines, federal guidelines. So these are all federal rules, right? They're making sure you meet them all. And what generally happens is that process takes, depending on where you're at, could take 2 days, could take a week, could take 24 hours. So we do our underwriting same day, so it's 24-hour turnaround, and we'll get, after that, we'll get what's called a loan approval. So I'll call you up and say, hey, Melissa, your loan's approved. The underwriter wants some clarification on this deposit on your bank statement. Tell me about this $2,700 deposit, right? So there's always going to be an approval with some other documents they need. So your lender is going to call you back and ask for it. Right? This is why that underwriting turn time is so important, right? You can see, because if it takes a week, well, now you're going to be like the day of closing having to scramble for stuff. You don't want to do that. So that turn time is very important. So that's going to come back. You're going to get a loan approval. That loan approval also gets sent to the attorneys. The state of Texas attorneys draft all your documents. So the attorneys then will reach out to the title company and they're going to work together to verify the sales contract, the note, which is the mortgage, the deed, which is the document that says you own the house and with whom, and they kind of work on all that stuff together. 3 days before closing, the lender is going to send you what's called a closing disclosure, or CD. It's required to be sent to you 3 days prior. And that's going to have the summation of every single penny in the transaction on 5 pages, very simple, with all of your final numbers, how much you have to write a certified check for, how much you got to send a wire, all that kind of stuff. 5 pages, done. And then you show up to closing.
Sign.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so who is the LOA and the underwriter?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this with every mortgage company is different. So if you go into a Bank of America and you do a loan application there, you're actually not talking to a loan officer. You're talking to an hourly employee who has a sub-license under Bank of America or any bank. It's not just Bank of America, whatever. And your information then is sent to a processing center. Maybe it's in Delaware. Maybe it's in California. It's usually out of state somewhere, a big call center. And there's usually a processor there, a QA person there, and then there's an LOA, which is a loan officer assistant. That loan officer assistant may call you. So if you talk to Mark, your loan officer, maybe Steven calls you. Hey, I work with Mark. I'm his loan officer assistant, blah, blah, blah. And they're responsible in that system to help put a file together for the loan officer. Okay. At Bank of America, right, you have 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person, 5 person. Now you may have a pre-closer, pre-underwriter. Usually it's about 10 people in that process. If you go to a more localized, bank, maybe you'll have 3 or 4 people, right?
Suggest. I said, which we suggest, the local person.
Yes. So you go local, and maybe there's 3 or 4 people, right? Maybe there's a loan officer assistant, a loan officer, and a processor, and an underwriter, right? Now that process can be much easier, right? You've probably talked to people and they said, man, my loan process was terrible. I didn't know who to talk to. Every time I called someone, no one answered my phone. They didn't call me back. It's because good people in a system of this huge system. I mean, the person in Delaware is not even on the same time zone as you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why would the LOA in California call you back right away? They're 2 hours behind you. So understanding that team is very important. And every company is a little different. So how we work is I'm actually your point of contact the entire time. I don't have an LOA. So I am actually a loan officer. I have a full license, correspondent license. I can sell loans to anyone. I can do everything myself. So in our system, I take all of your stuff up front. I bring you through underwriting. Now my processor, Lori, her responsibility is to verify that I did my work correctly. So if I asked you for your 2 months of bank statements and I got August and July and now it's October, she's going to be like, hey, Melissa, can you please send me your September account? I just got August and July. I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. That's her job. She helps kind of make sure I did my job correctly. But other than that, there's no one else that you talk to. So in our company, it's just the loan officer, their processor, and the underwriter. There's just 3 of us. And I don't know if you could get much leaner than that. But so that's kind of the people in the team. Usually people are scared of the underwriter for a lot of times. And I think the fear comes from the fact that it usually takes a long time. So most underwriters are off-site. So one of the questions, if I was vetting a loan officer, would be like, can you touch your underwriter? Can you reach over and touch them? Because if the answer is no, the next question is, where do they sit? And if they sit 50 miles away, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially if there's an issue in your file. So, part of my full approval process is I take all your stuff, I turn over, and I say, hey, Gregory, I just got this loan, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything I should look for? I go through the whole process with them right there. And so when I call you back, I can say, we're done with it.
Yeah. And you personally done that for us too, when we're looking to buy a second home and to build that kind of roadmap like we talked about before. And that's been so helpful because with a lot of lenders, they don't have that resource and they don't want to spend the money, right, to drop that into somebody else's lap if you're not under contract. And so, and also through the loan consult process, you get them much further along than a lot of other lenders would. So I think that it's really important to have a lender who does that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so what should the buyer do during the processing time, and what should they not do?
All right. So there's a point after we're done with your loan, we call it clear to close. And for all intents and purposes, we're done with your loan, but we're also not done with your loan. So nowadays, because of COVID and how the industry is changing and the access to information, we actually, on the day of closing, we will re-verify your credit and your employment. So what should you not do during the process? That list is much longer than what you should do. So what you should not do not go open any new lines of credit. Don't buy a car. Don't get a new credit card. Don't go do any of that kind of stuff. If Nebraska Furniture Mart is having a sweet deal, 10 years, 0% financing for their stuff, just wait. It'll be okay. You can wait. So do not open any new lines of credit. Number 2, don't move money around like you're a drug dealer. All right. And I say that jokingly, but people all the time, like me, for example, I have like 10 different checking accounts, right? I have like my kids' savings. I have my emergency fund. I do some sort of Dave Ramsey there. It makes it really hard, not on the lender, but also on you as the client. Because now every single time there's a transfer of money, I have to show that it was yours. I have to show that it was yours that you moved it and it still is yours. So it's a lot of extra paperwork. No new lines of credit. Don't move money around like crazy. The third thing is, if you're an hourly employee, make sure that you get the same amount of hours or more than you normally get. If you're a salaried employee, if you get furloughed or you get reduction of income in any way, shape, or form, you need to let the loan officer know immediately. Because this is what's going to happen. The day of closing, while you're signing paperwork at the title company and hanging out with Melissa and having a good time, and hopefully I'm there and they let me come, it'll be wonderful. Behind the scenes, there's a person, their sole job is to do a soft credit pull on you to make sure you didn't open any new lines of credit, and then they're going to call your HR department. If your HR department says, oh yeah, Melissa, I think next week we're going to reduce their pay by 20%. That loan, denied. Done. So just know that that level of due diligence is done. Now, it shouldn't scare you, right? If you have an open and clear communication with your lender, you should be totally good to go. So my recommendation, I tell everyone, is just communicate. I have clients that will text me, hey, I have to go to Target. My bill's going to be like $200. Can I do? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. That's fine. That's not a new line of credit. Like, I would rather that than sometimes I'll go to text, hey, I just bought a new Tesla. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's a fun one. So be honest with your lender. There's so many reports that we run, fraud reports, credit reports, income reports, that it's going to be found, right? We're going to find out about it. Sometimes we can work around it and sometimes we can't. So if you have any questions on it, what if, call your lender. Call your lender.
And if you ask me, I'm going to tell you, call your lender.
Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, your turn.
Oh, I was going to say, last question that I really had was, what exactly is clear to close? What does that mean for a buyer?
So you remember when I called you up and said, hey, your loan's approved. I just need that new bank statement.
Mm-hmm.
And you give me your bank statement. I show it to my underwriter. My underwriter says, you're clear to close. You're done. And that just means I don't need any more documents from you. All right, we're done. That means that the title company releases the documents and you get to go sign them and everything's wonderful. Now, when that changes, okay, is if we pull your credit report on the day of closing and you open a new line of credit, pause button's hit. I'm going to ask you for a ton of documents. You still want to sell the house, still buy the house.
Yeah.
So, clear to close historically means we're done with everything. Boom.
Awesome. Okay, Brandon. Well, my children have just walked through the house. So we're not going to get on camera though, but thank you again for all of your time and we appreciate you so much. And again, Brandon is part of the private Facebook group for our buyer course. So if you have questions for a lender, please reach out to him. Bye. We would love to connect you guys. All right, Brandon, thank you.
Bye. Have a great day.